what you're about to experience. A big, huge room full of tons of discus.
When I first saw it, she's like, hey, you want to see my fish? And you walk down the basement and you're thinking like, I'm like, all right, she's got a tank, right? You're gonna show me a tank. And you walk down and you're just like, what? Like, how does this happen?
Oh, those ducks are cool.
Look at the turtle.
Look at this yard. Are you kidding me? In the city of Chicago, this looks spectacular. You have 7 turtles, but they're not eating your water lilies.
No, we feed them.
And even the ducks, because I got 2 Welsh Harlequin ducks, and if I don't feed them every day, they're in my lily. It may look like we're in an alley because we are in an alley, but we're actually in Chicago at one of the coolest stops that you said that we're gonna have on our blog tours.
Yeah, Josephine is a fish hobbyist, discus to be exact. Like she raises and sells discus all over the country in different parts of the world, I think. This project is so awesome because we built this pond for her 2 pet turtles.
I love it because this is what got me into this business, was as a hobbyist with turtles. So I'm Greg Wittstock, the pond guy, and this is about living the aquascape lifestyle. So apparently this is a Chicago police walk. So let's check this out. So you're the famous discus lady of Chicago.
I am.
I want to see the turtles. I want to see the discus. I just saw some ducks over there.
Yes.
And you would never think this because literally we are in a city.
We
Well,
are
you have
in
a
the
double
middle of
lot.
the city.
So you have an
We
extra
triple
lot.
lot.
Oh, wow. Brian told me that you're a Chicago police officer.
I am.
And that you went on a call and you saw these 2 red ear sliders that were not being taken care of.
It was one. And,
Okay.
and the lady asked me if I wanted the turtle, and I said sure. And I took the turtle home, and that's how it all started.
How long ago was that?
About 10 years ago.
So tell me how this whole relationship happened with you and Aquascape after 10 years of having a turtle.
I really wanted a pond, so I went to like 3 different people, and they just couldn't capture my idea of what I wanted. I wanted something that looked like it had been here for a long time, and this did it.
Yes.
And then I wanted something that people knew what they were doing. I just called a bunch of places. I said no to everybody until I got a hold of Jenna. I felt comfortable with her, and then we just set up a date and a time and schedule, a contract, and here we are.
Brian, explain this edge because it's so awesome.
So you know how we have the arched stacked walls, the water walls? I always saw those things and said, how awesome would it be to put them in a pond and actually use them to rock in an edge of a pond. And they're strong enough to actually support these giant stones. So all I did is I linked one wall like this, one wall like this, put these stones over it, plumbed them, so it literally looks like water is shooting out from underneath.
The 2 things that I love is you got the flow of water, which of course koi are river fish, you know, they're carp, so they like that flow. And then the second thing is you go right next to a deep area next to the patio here. So we've got probably goes down, 20 inches.
Those walls are 32 inches. So it's straight down 32 inches, which is nice. The walls don't take up any real estate. So if I wanted to stack this wall out of boulders, the problem would be a 32-inch boulder is also pretty wide, too. And to get it perfectly flat to accept this isn't possible. Right here, instead of using rock, we've got that stacked wall in here. So right here, we got that stacked wall. So you can see it in here, so we couldn't find a rock. We just cut this thing to fit right in here and then brought our frame rocks in.
So awesome. So this is the turtle that started it all for them 10 years ago. This is the luckiest turtle in the world. Was rescued from one of her calls. So we walked up here and there were turtles literally laying that part of that stump, which is perfect. It's literally, they got protection, they can jump back in, they're gonna get the sun, the natural sun in there. What's most amazing is that this pond has been in here for June, July, August, 3.5 months, and it looks like it's been here for 3.5 years. It is amazing. I mean, the plants, the water quality, the fish have already, how many spawns do you think the fish have had here?
You can see 3 different size baby fish in there, from 2 to 3 inch down to about 1 inch, and then I just saw some tiny guys. There's a new spawn that happened, which is unheard of, right? Like usually the koi spawn in the spring.
As a professional discus breeder, how much work is the pond compared to a fish tank?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Easy, simple.
Because it's, you let nature take a course.
Yeah.
It rains, you don't have to do water changes every week.
No, what really made it different, and it was something I didn't even ask for, but it made a huge difference in this pond, was the bog filter.
You did a wetland filter in the pond?
Yeah.
More often than not, when we do wetland filters, they're always built adjacent to the pond, or they start off a big waterfall or something. Here we actually have it built almost in the bottom of the pond. The design wouldn't allow it to go anywhere else, so we just built it into the bottom, and you're still getting all that filtration as the water moves through that rock and gravel, which just makes a huge difference. We always say a biofalls will keep the pond clean and healthy and everything else. A wetland filter polishes that water, so it just takes it to a different level. And we knew a biofalls by itself on a pond, not so much of this size, but with this much wildlife in it, with the ducks and the turtles and all the fish, a biofalls alone just wouldn't be enough, so we had to put a wetland filter on here. So obviously with Josephine, being a turtle lover and this pond being for turtles, one of the main things we had to do is think about how turtles are gonna use the pond. And so you can see this log sitting right here. That was intentional. We wanted that to come up so the turtles had a place to bask. And not just the log, but you'll notice as you kind of walk around the pond, there's different rocks. Even this rock here was intent. Chris did such a fantastic job with placing this rock so they could come up, bask in here, and then easily slide back in. And so there's several places for them to do that. And we really wanted that to happen, because if we can build the turtles an environment, they'll want to stay here that much more rather than try to leave all the time.
What you're about to experience. A big, huge room full of tons of discus.
When I first saw it, she's like, hey, you want to see my fish? And you walk down the basement and you're thinking, like, I'm like, all right, she's got a tank, right? You're gonna show me a tank. And you walk down and you're just like, what? Like, how does this happen?
Let's go see this. I'm excited. Okay. It's been built up.
So these are the rejects. I hate to say that, but these are the ones that have a not so great fin or not so great. So we use them as our discus, our friends, our family.
Look at the colors on it. Like, I've never seen discus fish like that.
And then there's more. Come over here. This is Miss Sky.
Aw,
and she's
beautiful.
silly. And these are just like breeders. And then just more fish. And these are empty because we're waiting for a new shipment.
One of the challenging parts with the design of this was, of course, how are we gonna get back here? And I'm gonna get to that in a second, because working in the city is not easy. We're almost always working out of an alley in the back. There was absolutely no access from the front and no access from the side. I mean, you can see this yard and how it's fully landscaped with every inch. And then there's also a giant 6-foot wrought iron fence all the way around the property. So I'm gonna show you how we got back here, but let me take you through a little bit of the design. So what was nice is Josephine really said, this is the space you get to work with. And all of this was grass up to about the viburnum shrub on the backside over there, hiding that fence. So she said, what would you do in this space? And I said, it's kind of a dangerous question because I could do a lot in this space. I said, what are some of the things you want to do? And what are some of the elements you want to see in here? She said, well, 100% I want it for turtles. I know I'm gonna get into koi, and I do have a parrot in the basement that I need a home for during the summer. She loves to bring her parrots outside and let them kind of sit in the sun and get some fresh air. So we came up with this design, and I'll kind of take you on that journey. So you walk this way, and we've got this awesome bluestone pathway that comes through here. And right here, you can decide, do I go left or right? If you go left, you come into the outdoor parrot house. And this was just a kit that they got. They bought this thing online, assembled it. We put down a concrete pad because they needed a quick, easy way to wash things off. And then I came up with the idea of putting one of our patio bowls in here. Chris came up with the idea of elevating, which I think is such an awesome idea, but he elevated it for a couple reasons. One, we needed a quick way to drain this thing. So on the bottom of this, we put a bulkhead fitting with a pipe that runs out where we can open up a ball valve and drain this water if the parrots are making a big mess in it. The other thing we did is we added an underwater light in there. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but that underwater light shines straight up. If you also look here, we've got a couple of our aeration discs. Now the purpose for this has nothing to do with really filtration, it's all aesthetics. If you can picture what this looks like at night, you got this giant light that shines up, a big 3-watt aquascape light, and then you've got these 2 aerators. So as the bubbles form and the light shoots up through the bubbles, it puts this unbelievable light canopy all over this honey locust tree above us. So it makes the tree look like it's moving all the time at night. It's just an awesome effect. Now, we decided to go left. If we went right, we're greeted by this bridge. And now you guys know how much I love putting bridges in ponds, but this bridge is a little bit unique where we've got one giant piece of flagstone and another one here with a little joint in between, which I just love because now it feels a little bit more like stepping stones. It also allows you to kind of see that water moving through it. The key to it is put the joints close enough together where there's no way you can roll your ankles. If you come to the bridge, you see the big waterfall. And what I think Chris did such an amazing job with this waterfall is he hid 2 biofalls. So 2 6,000 biofalls sit up here. There's one over on the left and one over on the right. You can probably see the shape of the one on the right a little bit more. The one on the left is buried underneath all that water hyacinth. A great additional filter for any pond is water hyacinth. They actually use these plants in wastewater treatment plants to purify the water. What happens with water hyacinth is it's a floating tropical plant. They're actually banned in a lot of different states, but in Illinois, a cold winter kills them all off. Here we use them to help filter the water. And as it floats, the roots hang down. The roots are very fibrous, and so you can see all of this stuff here is helping filter out more and more of the sediment from the pond. What you have to be careful with though is because it's such an aggressive plant, what can happen is it gets so thick in here that it actually creates a dam and water can start going over the backside of the biofalls. So usually come August, September, someplace in there for us, we have to start thinning these things out. I've heard from other people, and I don't know if it's exactly true, but they say water hyacinth will multiply every 12 days. So then of course I always want the bridge to lead to something. What wasn't in the design originally was this little small patio over here. Like one of my favorite parts of the design of this entire water feature. You never want to build a pond without thinking, how are people going to sit by it and enjoy it? Which is why we never want to put it in the back corner of the yard. If you put a pond in the back corner of the yard, you're also going to have to put a patio in the back corner of the yard. You're also going to have to put a walkway to that patio. You're also going to have to put in shade trees and everything else. Here we had to create a viewing area. So we put in these huge bluestone pieces, these New York bluestone slabs here, and let them cantilever out over the pond. As we talked about before, it's actually supported with our architectural spillway walls. One of the most challenging parts of this project was how logistically we're going to do it, because I couldn't come in here, dig this whole pond, and then figure out how to get the rock and gravel back in. So we actually had to work backwards. We started over there. We dug a bunch of the pond while the machine sat here. We dug some of it over here while the machine sat here. We had to rock this section in. Then as we stayed here, we had to move to the right, rock that waterfall in. Then we sat here with the machine as we moved our way out this way. And what I mean by challenging, the only way in and out of this yard was through that fence and over a 2-foot, 3-foot wall on the other side.
So the most incredible thing to me about this water feature, it's only 3.5 months old and it already looks like that. And also, we are in the city limits of Chicago. This is a Chicago police officer that lives here. Unbelievable hobbyist with all of her fish. Look at that. We're in downtown and she's got chickens. Places for parrots. I mean, this is just paradise. And of course, turtles. 7 red ear sliders living in this pond and loving this pond. These are the luckiest turtles around. So for me to be able to see somebody that we were able to help live their passion out, she said she'd been thinking about this pond for 10 years when she found us. 3.5 months in, I can see why. This is a labor of love for her. She is really getting into this hobby. And that's what this channel is all about. It's showcasing how people, cool people, live the aquascape lifestyle. Hey, if you like this stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and follow along on my journey because, man, I gotta tell you, I love my job.